All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Laura Morgan, and we're back again this week talking about bone density and power and how to build strength that is going to protect your future. So, tonight actually might be one of the most important conversations we have all year, honestly, because bone loss doesn't really hurt us. Like we don't feel pain from bone loss. We don't feel it happening. And there's really no like warning light that bone loss is occurring. But yet, 1 in 2 women over age 50 will experience an osteoporosis related fracture or fracture related to bone loss. So that's why this topic is so important to me. Because a lot of times, as women, or even men, sometimes we spend a lot of time worrying about wrinkles, weight, cellulite, whatever outside feature there is to kind of stress about. But a hip fracture or a bone fracture is actually what can change your life. And it's one of the strongest predictors of loss of independence in women and postmenopausal women. So, this is the part that's kind of empowering for me, because there is something that can be done about it, and bone will respond to a stress or a load or weight. And our bones aren't like fragile pieces of glass. They're actually living tissue and they can adapt to different stresses and demands that we can place on them. So that's actually kind of cool because that means that we have some control over loss of bone density. And just a reminder, we're not here just to look strong or just to look good, even though that sometimes comes as a bonus too, but we're here to train to be strong. So no one ever has to say, oh, be very careful with her, or, so we don't have to worry about maybe going to the nursing home someday because we fell and broke our hip. So we're training to carry those groceries at age 75, to get off the floor without help, to hike, travel, lift our grandbaby someday. So tonight I just want to talk about exactly how we can train in a way that protects our future self. So let's build some bones. All right, let's see if it goes here. There we go. Okay, so as I kind of alluded to in the beginning, bone loss is silent. We don't feel bone loss happening, and that's what makes it so dangerous. Our bone mineral density, it peaks around age 30. So for me, I'm 35. My bone mineral density's already peaked and it's already kind of going back down. So we can kind of think of it as a mountain. So when we're born, we kind of start low and our bone, we deposit more, we build more bone, deposit more calcium in that bone, that kind of goes up like a mountain. And then at age 30, it peaks at the top around age 30, and then it starts to decrease again. And bone mineral density decline, the decline accelerates during perimenopause and menopause. And like we kind of talked about a few weeks ago, the reason for that is because of that decrease of estrogen. Um, and that decrease of estrogen actually allows, and we're going to kind of get into the weeds a little bit here, but it allows cells called osteoclasts to kind of be more active, and the osteoclasts actually break down bone. So that's why that happens, especially during perimenopause and in menopause. And like I mentioned before, 1 in 2 women over age 50 will experience an osteoporosis related fracture. So that's actually kind of scary if you think about it. Like, if you and your friend, like one of you, will probably experience an osteoporosis related fracture. So it's kind of something this is extremely important to me, and that's why I wanted to talk about it tonight. So, like I said, we do have some control over the things that we can do to decrease our bone loss and to, keep it so we're not losing as much bone and maybe even building some more bone back to replete those losses. So this is where strength training comes in, and I feel like a broken record because I talk about this every single time, but it it matters and it's so so important. So um, I don't know if any of you are into 19th century German anatomists, but there's a German anatomist named Julius Wolff, and he basically was the first um, anatomist or anatomy specialist to describe the mechanism of bone being broken down when it's not being stressed and bone being able to be built up when it is being stressed. So basically, if we're going to talk about it in simple terms, is if we put a stress on our bone, like lifting a weight or, the muscle attach it to the bone is getting stressed, like or pulled, that bone will respond to it. Our bones aren't just like I said, a piece of glass. Like they actually are tissue, and they do change and respond to the stresses that we put them through. So mechanical loading can stimulate the bone formation, and the impact matters. So what do we want to do for this? We want to focus on heavy compound lifts. And I don't know if I explained this in talks before, but compound lifts basically mean like if you're moving through more than one joint. So like a really good example would just be like a squat. So when you're squatting down, you're moving through your hip joints and your knee joints. And also really the ankle joint is moving too. So if it's more than one joint, that makes it a compound lift. So like squats, lunges, um, deadlifts are kind of that way too. But those are really important. Anything that's putting weight through the spine is going to be really important too, that and trying to go as heavy as you can while still maintaining safety, of course. Loaded carries are the next thing. So like farmer's carries or suitcase carries, and basically that's just you grab some dumbbells, you hold on to them, and you walk. And you want to make sure that your posture is really good and try to go as heavy as you can. And that's simulating things like bringing in the groceries, carrying things around your home, carrying a suitcase when you're traveling, like so you can do both. Farmer's carries is when you have something on both arms, and then suitcase carries is when you're like carrying on one side or the other. Um, Personally, my favorite is farmer's carry because I just feel like I don't know if I'm gonna do it, I might as well do both sides. Okay, so we talked about heavy lifting, the carries, and then anything involving like jumping or plyometrics. So like going up and down stairs, like jogging, any sports that involve running or jumping. You can even like just get a little step, like step aerobics is actually part of this too, because you're kind of jumping around on that step, but you can even just go up and down or jump up and down on your steps. Obviously, like we want to make sure that you're maintaining safety with this. So if this isn't something you feel like you can safely do without injuring yourself, I wouldn't recommend it, but it is something that should be focused on because we want impact or stress to that bone in order to build more bone. Okay. Um, and then I just wanted to like touch again, like walking is really good for our hearts, like, and it's good alongside strength training, but walking alone doesn't have enough impact to really build bone. It will stop the progression of bone loss, but on its own, it won't really build any bone. So um, walking is still good, and we still want to do that along with strength training. And actually, the studies show that resistance training or strength training along with some aerobic exercise has the best outcomes for building bone. Um, so, yeah. So again, what can we do about it? I just gonna give you a little strategy. So again, I sound like a broken record, but we want to lift heavy. We're aiming for that 6 to 8 rep range, 12 reps maximum, and then progressive overload. So like we talked about before, each time you want to try to maybe get a little bit more weight or maintain the weight for a couple weeks and then try to increase it. The second thing is adding impact. So jumping rope, box steps, light hops. Again, if you feel like you can do more, you can always do more, but we want to start light and kind of increase as you can tolerate it. And everyone's going to be different for this. So if you have questions about this, just let me know. Our diet is actually an important thing too. We want to make sure, again, we're getting enough protein, we're getting calcium and vitamin D in our diet. Um, and supplements are, I'm not a huge fan of supplements. I would rather, like, if you're going to choose one or really focus on one, to do strength training and then just working calcium and vitamin D into your diet, like into the foods you eat. But some people, feel like they can't get enough calcium. And then I think then, on a case by case basis, you could talk about supplements, but we're not going to get into that for today. And then I just want to remind people like, don't fear intensity. Like I said, we need impact. That bone needs a stimulus or else it's not going to respond. It's not going to build more bone. So, don't be afraid of, doing maybe a little bit higher intensity a couple of times, like maybe once a week, just to try to increase that a little bit. And then I just wanted to touch quickly on whole body vibration because I feel like vibration plates are all the rage right now, and there is some research on whole body vibration. I didn't pull, I forgot to write down the actual numbers, but um, excuse me. Um, what this is a good alternative if you are unable for some reason to do the strength training. The studies, obviously the best is aerobic exercise with strength training, focusing on that strength training at least twice a week. 4 times a week is better. But if you're unable to do that for, some reason, like um, you have something going on medically that doesn't allow you to do that, then whole body vibration it does show a significant difference. It's just not as good as the aerobic training and the resistance training. Um, but, and then you can combine them, but really the difference between whole body vibration plus like resistance training and aerobic training is really negligible, versus like if you put the whole body vibration with this resistance training or if you just did resistance training and aerobic training. So hopefully that makes sense. I think the parameters were like 30 hertz and then they wanted you to do it at least like 10 minutes, 10 plus minutes, 3 to 5 times a week. Over about a 12-week period, they're wanting about 7,000 minutes of whole body vibration. So it's a significant time commitment, but again, I just wanted to touch on it because I know it's kind of trendy right now, but there actually is some decent research. If you're unable to exercise, I think it would be a good alternative. Um, so again, just want to remind everyone, we're here we're here to be strong. We want to train like our independence depends on it because it really does. When you're talking about these things, and if you want to, stay out of the nursing home or be, we'd rather be the oldest person in the gym than the youngest person in the nursing home. So again, just a reminder, hip fractures are one of the biggest predictors of loss of independence in women, especially postmenopausal women. 65 plus, the incidence of it shoots way up. And we're not training for aesthetics. We're training so that no one has to be careful with us or, being cognizant and be like, oh, they have osteoporosis. We want to make sure we be really careful. again, we're not training just to look strong or just to look good. We're training to stay capable, independent, and powerful for decades to come. So, that's all I have. I just wanted to say, like, if anyone, I don't know if you can see this, but I made like a little, it's just like a 10-minute strength add-on. It's called Bone Builder is what I named it. But it's just a little 10-minute strength add-on. So if anyone's interested in that, I can send that to you. It just has a few of the things that we talked about, a couple different options of things that you could do. So yeah, I made that. So I can send it to you as a PDF if anyone is interested in that, just let me know. I'm happy to share. And then here's some of my references. So yeah, and that is all I have. Let me just stop sharing here. Oh, perfect. Okay. Any questions that or anything that you have to add, Hannah? I know that you're running errands, but anything that you want to add?
I was just happy you touched on vibration plates because I feel like it's hard to decipher between social media trends and true research-backed information. And
Yeah.
so, even with exercise, there's people that aesthetically look pleasing online, and then they said, I did this, this, and this is, and then me viewing it, you think, oh, I'll look like that if I do what they did. But it's so individualized.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like what you talked about today, putting things step by step and then always coming back to strength training, like broken record, like it's just it's just literally the bones, like it's the bare bones, like start there and then
Yeah.
you just keep building on new things, just to because not everyone is familiar with different types of exercise, so I feel like showing that there's more than one way to exercise and still build your bone density, but yet deciphering, oh, is this vibration plate? Oh, I need to buy this. This is going to make me feel this, this, and this, and look like this. So I was glad you touched on that.
Yeah, I originally didn't have that in there. I'm like, oh, I really probably should add this though, because I see it too, and I'm like tempted to get one because, people are selling them and they do a really good job of marketing, but um really I don't even know how much they cost. Honestly, I haven't ever gotten that far into it, but yeah, a lot of those trendy things are sometimes it's hard to know, like, is this actually going to help or is it just kind of another thing that, you go through. But I do think they're actually, if you follow the parameters for bone growth, like I said, it does help, but nothing is gonna be better than exercise. So, but for some people and some patients, they're unable to exercise for whatever reason. So then it's maybe an okay option. But yeah. Well, thanks for joining and yeah, we'll see. I actually, next week I am gonna be off. I'll be gone, so we're gonna take next week off and then I'll be back the final week and then I'll make a post about what the topic is gonna be for that. It'll be a surprise.
Perfect. That sounds great.
All right, you take care, okay?
Yeah, sounds good.